Thank you, Dr. Andersen. Let's begin with our question and answer session. It is exciting that the concept of sustainability has now gone beyond the green social and political movement and is now becoming an essential element in business development strategies and initiatives across all economic sectors and industries. Can you elaborate more?
Sure. I mentioned that organizational agility and creativity, such as the rebirth of some classic products like butter instead of margarine or fresh rather than frozen vegetables, can foster economic and market growth for many enterprises, as well as rebranding and overvaluing products such as coffee. But I think the sustainable trend of reuse and the circular economy in particular has enormous potential at this time in most industries, given the massive global waste our society produces today.
Thank you. It is very worrying that the summer of 2018 is being considered as a tipping point where historically moderate temperatures have become unsustainable, and that some political leaders of greatly polluting countries such as the United States continue to oppose initiatives such as the recent Paris Accord. What can be done about this, Dr. Andersen?
Well, I believe that as the effects of climate change around the world are beginning to severely impact all communities, rich and poor, with extreme temperatures, rising sea levels, and natural disasters, so political leaders will have to act accordingly sooner rather than later. In the U.S., despite President Trump's blatant refusal to accept this reality, most state and city leaders around the country are already taking appropriate measures to act responsibly and abide by the international climate change agreements, particularly here in California.
Very good. Should governments around the world provide fiscal and other initiatives to private industry and NGOs for sustainable initiatives and projects?
I believe so. This is one way to make these initiatives become profit centers much faster so that they can contribute to the financial bottom line and become sustainable businesses for the long-term future.
Thank you. I have another question. You mentioned that the debate over whether or not healthcare is a human right was beyond the scope of your presentation. I understand this is a complex issue for our global society, since health has no borders. Can you give us your personal opinion briefly?
Well, sure, very gladly. I personally believe that healthcare is a human right and a globally shared responsibility. In this sense, all national healthcare systems must begin an articulation and cooperation campaign, especially with neighboring nations in the same region and continents, much like we have with higher education access across borders. This should begin by standardizing the educational curriculum systems that produce healthcare professionals at all levels, doctors, nurses, medical technicians, etc. An example of the lack of articulation is the U.S. and Mexico. In Mexico, medical school is an undergraduate program, whereas in the U.S. it is a graduate level curriculum. Migration across borders, both forced as well as voluntarily, will inevitably contribute to opposing political rhetoric in many countries, including the United States.
Thank you for your response. One more question.
Sure.
Your excellent overview of global health issues underscores the importance of much greater awareness and education at all sectors of our society, particularly the poor and disadvantaged segments. It is incredible that the common flu viruses are a major killer around the world today, and that diarrheal diseases are the second cause of death in children. Do you think social media networks can do more to address this urgent need?
Yes, I believe individuals, organizations, and communities can use social networks to disseminate knowledge and prevention skills, but especially government and educational institutions should take a much more proactive role and lead, given their great influence and impact on society. And it starts with something simple like a flu shot. I'm getting mine today.